Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is your boy Disaster, and you're watching the Disaster Network right here on Roku. And this tree right here is the logo for the company, because as you're watching right now, you're only seeing the surface of the blossom. But what you're not seeing is the roots. So that's my job, to expose the roots to you guys. All right? So Disaster Network is a network that was put together by Disaster and the team, because I felt that there wasn't any shows out there that was either educational, positive, or even for us as people, not white, black, yellow, green, but for us as people, as opposed to the spiritual stuff that's demonic. You know what I mean? So for those real spiritual people out there that has a hunger for something that's not demonic, that's what this site was designed for. I want to give you guys a parallel industry, so you'll have a choice where you want to go to. So as I go, you see how deep these roots is going? So as you watch the Jazz Invasion, you get to find out stories that you didn't know before. As you watch Intertwined, you get to see the history that's been suppressed so long. As you watch Day of Disaster, you get to see how long Disaster been working at this, and how anybody that actually put their mind to something and put their time into it, able to accomplish anything. Okay? So with this network, we plan on changing a lot of things in not only the industry, but in your life personally. So be sure to go to the Disaster Network on Roku if you're listening to this on Disaster Area Radio. And if you're listening to this on Disaster Area Radio, then make sure you go to the Disaster Network on Roku, and that's the DIZAZTA Network. And then tune in live. You'll see the Black Panther. You'll see Marcus Garvey. You'll see Hoover. You'll see all of these people that you're hearing when you're listening to the radio station. So once again, this is your boy Disaster. It's a beautiful day out here in the Chi, and I'm about to go more into Chi-Town, but I'm going to bring it to you. Usually I'm in the city. This time I'm going to be actually looking over the mission. Y'all stay tuned. Let's go into the next clip.
It was an Underground Railroad fairy tale, without the part where they live happily ever after. This is the real Underground Railroad, a mammoth, dangerous struggle for freedom that failed as often as it succeeded. But the passengers and the conductors along the line were undaunted. They persevered and began to come up with ingenious escape plans, desperate measures called for by desperate times.
Sometimes we think of the Underground Railroad as that thing where people who were free reached out to helpless, passive slaves and lifted them out of slavery. But the slaves were in no way passive in this process. And in fact, in most of the cases, you had to get to major northern centers before you would encounter that thing that we think of today as the Underground Railroad. I mean, once you got to Philadelphia, sure, then you could go to William Still's office. But what would you do in rural Virginia before you got to a place where it was even feasible for you to make a successful escape to a place like Philadelphia? And slaves were ingenious in the ways that they concocted to achieve their freedom.
The box which I had procured was 3 feet 1 inch long, 2 feet 6 inches high, and 2 feet wide. On the morning of the 29th day of March, 1848, I went into the box. Having previously bored 3 holes opposite my face for air and provided myself with a bladder of water. Thus equipped for the Battle of Liberty, my friends nailed down the lid and had me conveyed to the express office. Henry Brown, former slave.
Henry Box Brown is the archetype for ingenuity and desperation along the Underground Railroad, and ironically, one of the very few escapees known to have actually traveled by rail. Aided by Samuel Smith, a white shoemaker who nailed the crate shut and mailed it from Richmond, Virginia to Philadelphia. Henry Brown spent 26 hours traveling as human cargo. When he arrived in Philadelphia, among those present to open the box was William Still.
William says he was so bent over he could hardly walk. He said, "Praise the Lord, I'm just so glad to be free." He had traveled instead of right side up, upside down. But freedom was so important that he didn't care.
He was about as wet as if he had come up out of the Delaware, and very soon much touchingly did he begin to sing the hymn, "I waited patiently for the Lord, and he heard my prayer." William Still, 1848.
The story of Henry Box Brown's escape made good reading, and even better advertisement for the abolitionist movement. Brown joined a small group of former slaves, including Sojourner Truth, whose eloquence made them a valuable asset on the anti-slavery lecture circuit in the United States and Great Britain. Henry Box Brown's Richmond accomplice, Samuel Smith, boxed up several more shipments of human cargo before he was found out. He served 7 years in prison, but wrote that he never regretted his actions. Just before Christmas in 1848, a slave from Macon, Georgia named William Craft dressed his wife, Ellen, who was extremely light-skinned, in the top hat and well-cut suit of a plantation owner. To hide the fact that Ellen had no facial hair, they contrived a bandage for a toothache and then a sling for a broken arm to conceal her inability to write or sign documents. Ellen also pretended to be deaf so that she would not have to speak. William pretended to be his master's loyal servant who spoke for him and handled all the travel arrangements. And so disguised, the Crafts traveled by stagecoach and train all the way to Philadelphia and then on to Boston. Unfortunately, the relative security runaway slaves were enjoying in the North was about to come to an end. The year is 1850, and the powerful cotton kings of the South are fed up with the growing number of slaves who are making it to the North. So Congress appeases them by passing the Fugitive Slave Act.
Hello everyone, this is your boy Disaster, and you're tuned in to another episode of the Disaster Network. And in this network, I'm specializing in bringing you guys the logo. That's right, this is what I'm going to bring for you guys today. I'm going to show you the history of this network. See how old this tree is? If we was to cut it down, you'll see this tree is 382 years old. That's how old this network is. My great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy had some stuff that he had buried in the ground. And I ended up finding the map, digging it up, and I came up with this network, y'all. So we got hundreds and hundreds of years of history for you guys, and this is the Disaster Network. Our roots run deep, and our drive run even deeper. Y'all stay tuned, and we're going to continue to bring you nothing but some uncut dub. That's right, y'all. This your boy Disaster, and you're looking at another episode of the Punishment Channel on the Disaster Network. Y'all stay tuned, y'all. I got some stuff for you.
Growing up, being from the T, ain't never been easy. I got oodles of girls whose goal is to please me. First name, put out my black book. Latoya, straight crook with a shy look. I adore ya. Bernadette kept herself wet till I arrived. Christine got a small waist. Hit the